Today we will discuss biochemistry. Introduction to biochemistry mean definition of biochemistry or the wordings of biochemistry. After that we will go that how biochemistry made an independent subject, right? Because in early years the physiology, chemistry, biology, biochemistry, biotechnology, they were emerged, they were overlapped, but later all the subjects become independent: physiology, biochemistry, chemistry, organic chemistry, analytical chemistry, physical chemistry, inorganic chemistry. And after that we will discuss the branches of biochemistry, and in last we will discuss scope of biochemistry, that why we study biochemistry, why it is needed that for a medical student to study biochemistry deeply. As compared to other subject, biochemistry is very essential, it is very important, because all the diagnoses are dependent upon biochemistry. So anyone who can tell me a definition of biochemistry? Simple one. Any one of you. Study of chemicals in our body. Anyone else? Hmm?
Study about the relation chemistry and biology.
No, the relation between chemistry and biology. Hassan. What is chemistry? It's called biochemistry. Good. What is chemistry? There are, if you see here in biochemistry, there are two words: bio plus chemistry. So what is chemistry? The study of chemicals. The study of chemicals is called chemistry. We will start from very base, right? What is biology? Study of life. Here life means living organisms. Living organisms. So if we think biochemistry is somewhat the relation between these biology and chemistry. जी सर. रकीबुन निसा. Documents answer rawalala. Ako kurdi. Ako kurdi. Sabali arala ha. Sabali arala khazan sa. ठीक है. हाँ. If you see in biochemistry, this is the emerging or the combination of biology and chemistry. So we can define that the relation between biology and chemistry. But deeply, it is the relation, it is the application of analytical, organic, and physical chemistry in life. Analytical chemistry, organic chemistry, and physical chemistry. The combination of these three application in life is called biochemistry. It gives us the relation between biology and chemistry. Chemistry. Right? So the relation between biology and chemistry means the relation between chemicals and living organisms. The relation between chemicals, any type of chemicals. We are not going for some specific chemicals now. After this we will go for lipids, proteins, and nucleic acid, etc. But now chemicals and life. The relation between chemicals and life. On other hand, we can say that the chemicals which are essential for maintenance of life is biochemistry. The chemicals which are required are essential for maintenance of life is called biochemistry. So there are some processes, there are some methods There are some stepwise mechanisms which take place inside the body. We study that reactions in a small portion of biochemistry. It's not all biochemistry, because biochemistry is not limited to living organisms. It is not limited, right? So we can say that all the essential chemical processes is biochemistry. Normally, these processes are called physiological processes. Physiological processes. Physiological processes. And these processes or these mechanisms are also known as vital mechanisms. Vital mechanisms. Are you understanding vital mechanism? So, in early stages, in early eras, the biochemists were called vitalists. They were called vitalists because all the vital mechanisms are studying in biochemistry. So, in early stages, they were called vitalists. They were called vitalists. Because in early stages, mean in 1650s, in 16th century, there were no proper biochemistry or chemistry, so they were called it vitalists. Because of the vital processes, they thought that there are some processes taking place inside the body and life is maintaining by that processes, so they were called vitalists. After that, the scientists getting interest in biochemistry in these stages, and they called that there are some molecules which are present in body, chemical substances present in body. These are only assumptions of scientists. They were not confirmed yet, but they are only talking to each other. There were two scientists named Robert Boyle and Antoine Laurent Lavoisier. They were talking to each other and saying that there are some chemical substances inside the body, and they got some processes and mechanisms, and this life is maintaining by that processes. After that, Robert Boyle visited Paris and studied that chemicals, and in 1650s or in 1660s, he came back to Germany. And then start research for confirmation of these questions, right? So chemical substances present in body. The class khatam kam jo so korta आवाज kai रेहान सो गप लगा हुआ है. Chemical substances present in body, they are just talking to each other, and that chemical substances, the study of that chemical substances are called biochemistry. But this is not biochemistry yet, this is vital subject, vitalists, right? And after 19th century or after 18th century, they confirmed that these chemical substances are proteins, lipids, carbohydrates, nucleic acids, enzymes, hormones, etc. And they called these molecules biomolecules because these molecules are important, are required, are needed for life. So they were called biomolecules. Collectively, we can define biochemistry as it is a branch of science or medical science in which we study the macromolecules, biomolecules, the relation between chemistry and biology, and all the processes inside or outside a body. All the processes occurs inside or out. For example, if we take photosynthesis is taking place outside the body, and this photosynthesis is one of the most important process for biochemistry, because if you stop photosynthesis, the life will finished on earth. This is the life which is dependent upon photosynthesis wholly solely. So all the chemical processes which occur outside or inside of body is studied in biochemistry. So collectively we can define that this is the branch of medical sciences in which we study chemical substances, all the chemical. Now what are chemical substances? They may be organic. These chemical substances may be organic substances. So organic substances are studied in organic chemistry. Organic chemistry. They may be inorganic. Maybe
Inorganic.
inorganic substances, like one of the essential water is inorganic, right? They may be electrolytes. Electrolytes mean ions, mean calcium, sodium, chloride, magnesium, potassium, etc. All are, they may be electrolytes. After this, all the chemical reactions in body. Chemical reactions may be catabolic reactions and they may be anabolic reaction. There is a separate branch for this reaction which is called metabolic biochemistry. We will study in just a few seconds. They may be catabolic and they may be anabolic. Catabolic mean when large substances break down, and anabolic mean when large substances mating, right? From small substances, like if amino acids are combining and forms protein, this is anabolism. If glucose are combining and forms carbohydrates or cellulose, glycogen, this is anabolism. And if this glycogen is breaking down and converting into glucose, or proteins are breaking down and converting into amino acid, this is catabolism, right? All the chemical reactions in body, all the chemical reactions in an environment which can affect life are also studies in biochemistry. For example, urea cycle. For example, urea cycle or water cycle, they are all the part of biochemistry. So all the chemical reactions outside the body or in external environment which can affect our life is also the part of biochemistry. After this, we study these all things in biochemistry, but there is one thing which is responsible for regulation of these reactions also, or these substances also, which are called enzymes. We will go for history, because enzymes were introduced in after 1828, near to 19th century. The first enzymes discovered were urease, and discovered, I think, by Friedrich Wöhler in 1828, right? So all the chemical reactions are catalyzed by enzymes, and this enzymes gives another branch to biochemistry which is called enzymology, the study of enzymes. So all these things are included in biochemistry. This is just the simple definition of biochemistry, that the relation between chemicals and life is called. Now, what is life? In life, we will take three things: animals, plants, microorganisms, because some of these substances are made it from microorganisms. And microorganisms, for example, if you take yeast is responsible for fermentation, right? So we will, if we talk about life here in biochemistry, it's mean animals, plants, and microorganism. Now, microorganisms is also a part of microbiology. So it's mean that microbiology is derived from biochemistry. It is derived from biochemistry. So this is the definition of biochemistry, right? In biochemistry, you will clarify this definition when we study all the branches of biochemistry, because biochemistry is not a separate, like if it cannot covered in one subject. It is divided in so many branches, like anatomy is also divided in branches, physiology is also divided in branches, like that biochemistry is also divided in further branches. For example, we have structural biochemistry, we have immunology, we have environmental biochemistry, we have neurobiochemistry, we have genetics, we have clinical biochemistry, and so many branches. We will discuss 4 or 5 in detail for understanding, but there are a lot of branches related to biochemistry. Now, before we really go for detail of these branches, we just go back to 1650s, and now we will understand, or we will learn, that how this biochemistry made an independent subject, right? And why scientists feel need for this independency, because biochemistry was emerged or is overlapped with physiology, but now students can take PhD degrees in biochemistry, right? MS degrees, PhD degrees. In early eras, this PhD in biochemistry were not present, right? So now I will tell you a story of biochemistry. ماشومان بشان مراتو ستوریانې کوم ښه چې بایوکیمستري څنګه بایوکیمستري شوه یا کیمستري چې څنګه بایوکیمستري ته کنورټ شوه, right? Just look in 1650s, the era of 1650 to 1780. This was the first era of chemistry. Before 1650s, physiology, biochemistry, anatomy, microbiology, biotechnology were one subject, and they are only talking that there is something inside our body and the life is maintaining by that thing. They were not confirmed that what were these things are chemical processes or chemical substances, but they are only assumpting, right? In 1650s and 1780, there were a lot of scientists, but 3 scientists are named for 1750s and 1650s and 1780. The first one was Robert Boyle. Robert Boyle. The second was Antoine Laurent Lavoisier, A. Lavoisier, right? And the third one was John Moy. These were the outstanding or the intelligent scientists of that era, right? Robert Boyle and Antoine Laurent Lavoisier was colleagues. They were friends, and this Robert Boyle said to Antoine Laurent Lavoisier that the matter is composed of chemicals, right? The matter is composed of chemicals. They are not confirmed that what are these chemicals, but only said that the matter is composed of chemicals, chemical substances. They named this chemistry, simple chemistry, right? He was silent. He didn't answer to Robert Boyle. You are just joking, you are funny, right? But after that, this John Moy in 1720, near to 1720 or 1710, he said that all the living organisms are made up of thousands of chemicals. Thousands of chemicals are present inside living bodies. They are plants, or microorganisms, or animals, but human body, living body is made up of thousands of chemicals. He is yet listening only. This A.L. Lavoisier, and he thought that what is the proof? What is the proof with Robert Boyle and John Moy that they are talking that there are some chemical substances present in matter or in body? He start research. This scientist start research, and his first research were on respiration and oxidation and combustion in environment. Oxidation in environment, he compared oxidation in environment with respiration, right? And he write an article or said to his friends that there is some relation between oxidation and respiration. He is now taking interest in biochemistry after the hypothesis made by Robert Boyle and Johann Moy. Antoine Laurent Lavoisier said that he started research on respiration and oxidation, and consumed and decided or made decision that there is some relation between respiration and oxidation. There is no contribution other than this, but this is an idea. The idea is difficult. When ideas come, research started. ضرورت ایجاد کی ما ہے کنه خلک دا څه وای کنه تا د سسي ضرورت شي د تبا غسیس بیا مخ کې بوزي خامخه. Now they are needy for confirming these questions or hypotheses or observations, right? So they start researching, but in research they were died. But he trained some of his students and friends. There were Antoine Laurent Lavoisier were some friends, colleagues, and students of A.L. Lavoisier was living in Germany. Now, after this, there were three scientists. After these three scientists, near to 18th century, means 1780, 1790, 1800, 1810, 1820, 1830, roundabout. And they said that if Robert Boyle, Antoine Laurent Lavoisier, and John Moy said that there is some respirations taking place in living organism, but respiration means that something is breaking down inside. So from where these things occurs, they come from where they come, that after in respiration they are breaking down, where they made, where is the company, where is the factory for these chemical substances. So they coined the word photosynthesis, but they are not confirmed yet that where photosynthesis take place, right? Photosynthesis means they only said that there is something behind this respiration which follows respiration, right? And the name of these scientists were uh, Joseph Priestley, John Priestley, John Ingenhousz, and Jean Senebier. This is near to 18th century. They coined photosynthesis for first time, that there is some process behind this respiration, and they start working on photosynthesis. And in last they decided, this is now 1860s or 1840s, 1850s, that plants are made up of carbon dioxide, water, some electrolytes, and they are synthesizing some chemical substances which are essential for life. And one thing is other responsible for this, which is called UV light, right? Because in research they are in laboratory and experiments on plants, and in night time the plants were not able to synthesize these things. So they confirmed that the UV light or sunlight is responsible for this reaction, right? But there was a student of these scientists these scientists, and he questioned that how these reactions taking place, is there is something which catalyzing or speeding these reactions. So now the scientists got interested or attracted to chemistry, and they were made their reaction fast, their research fast, right? In 1828, a student of Joseph Priestley named Friedrich Euler, first time he discovered urea cycle. But now the scientist questions that urea is one of the excretory substance. There is no cycles for urea, right? Because there were no enzymes discovered yet, right? So These four scientists, Joseph Priestley, John Ingenhousz, Jean Senebier, and Friedrich Wöhler, they coined some points in front of other scientists. The first point was that plants are made up of carbon dioxide, water, electrolytes, right, and some other substances, right. In the presence of UV light they are working. But then the question arises here that from where the plants taking these substances? Are they coming from sky? No. The scientists answer that plants taking nutrients or food from soil. But when they experiment on that soil, the soil is deficient in these electrolytes or these nutrients. Right? Now they decided that there is a need of nutrients for soil, and here the agricultural biochemistry, in which fertilizers are used in crops. Right? So agricultural biochemistry. So now urea was the first nutrient discovered, right, for plants. The second point was that if plants are finished from soil or earth, life will be impossible. This was the second point of these scientists. Now biochemistry is coming near, right. There is no separate branch yet for biochemistry, right, because agriculture biochemistry is also emerged in biochemistry, right. The third point, they coined that when animals died, right, soil take nutrients from dead bodies. They may be plants, may be animals, may be human, and the nutrients taking from dead bodies are using by plants only. Plants only, because there is no other organism present to consume these nutrients, right. This was the third point of the scientist, right. Now 18th century is finished, but in Germany this chain is coming. Students of students, right, and friends. In 19th century, in 19th century, two scientists, they were very intelligent and they give very big contribution to biochemistry, named you already know, I think, the Liebig. Do you know Liebig? Liebig is the father of biochemistry, yeah. Liebig, right. And the second was Louis Pasteur. These were the outstanding scientists of 19th century. But out of these two, this Liebig is very intelligent, right? Liebig studied chemistry in Paris because he was living in Paris and got some questions in his mind and discussed with this Louis Pasteur. But there was no answer with Louis Pasteur because Louis Pasteur is also new scientist, right? He visited here, right, and met with the friends of A.L. Lavoisier, colleagues and students of A.L. Levatia, right? And got a lot of experience in chemistry from these guys, right? And came back and opened his own experimental chemistry in Germany, right? This was the first biochemical lab in Germany, which was made by Liebeck, right? So he opened a research biochemical lab. This was the first lab, experimental. Now from all over the Europe, the students are coming to this lab. One thing here, very important, that they have no habit of fertilization. They will have no habit of fertilization. दूसरे पेपर इन पास को लेखा सही है ना दाचे इन दाखलक बचे चरत सबक लाड़ो गंदी हो गया सबक हुए दीचे द टोटल यूरोप नो शर तरालो स्टूडेंट्स रा शुरू से बल्ले फोन द रिसर्च लीबेक डुम्बे गट लैब जोड़ करे पल पाई के एक्सपेरिमेंट्स कोल द यूरोप न द टू स्टूडेंट्स आन पद पसरा रवान शल and they are taking a good interest in or attraction to biochemical works. Now from here, from 19th century, the discoveries of biochemistry are started, right? In 1899, in middle 1849 DNA were discovered because they are studying some pus cells from humans and they see some substances inside, but there is no DNA name or RNA name for that yet. In 1929 or in 1940s, the DNA were first discovered, right? The Watson and Crick was the scientist, right? So this was the lab. Now in 1935, this is now 1935, first time which thing is discovered? Vitamins, because they are studying and consumed or assumed that there are some special substances present inside the body which are working. This is the first organic compound which is discovered, vitamin. A vitamin mean important, vital, right? The first vitamin which was discovered is riboflavin. Right? After this, thiamine, vitamin B1, B2, vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin D, they were discovered in 1935, right? In 1935, they also concluded that there are some special things inside the cells, because cell was discovered in 1665 and we are talking now in 1935 or in 1940. So they concluded that there are some minute particles present inside the cell which are working for these processes, and the processes are taking place in these minute particles, and they call that cell organelles. In 1935, the proper cell organelles name were discovered. Cell organelles, right? After this, in 1940s and in 1940s, the first ATP was discovered, adenosine triphosphate. And who discovered this? Louis Pasteur, and in combination with Lippmann. There was a scientist named Lippmann. So Lippmann and Louis Pasteur discovered adenosine triphosphate and concluded that adenosine triphosphate is the energy unit in cell. A cell is working on ATP, right? So from here, now the chemistry is started, biochemistry, because in 1944, the Watson and Crick discovered DNA properly and said that DNA is the hereditary material. So nucleic acids also discovered. Nucleic acids, RNA and DNA. From here, from 1944 to 1950, they feel a need for separate branch for this biochemistry. And now from 1945 to 1950, the biochemistry become a separate branch, independent branch, which is used in a lot of other fields, because all the pharmacology, the medicines, the diagnosis, the examinations, the physiology is wholly solely dependent upon biochemistry. If there is no biochemistry, there is no physiological process, right? If there is no biochemistry, there is no diagnosis, right? So this is the history of biochemistry, a short history. This is a short history of biochemistry. There are a lot of discoveries is running in 2024 even. They made a catalyst in DNA recently in 2024. In 2019, two scientists got Nobel Prizes for contribution in biochemistry, right? The work is running, but the proper biochemistry started from 19 or in 19th century, and therefore we called the biochemistry as the young field. This is the young field because which is discovered very recently in 19th century, right? Now we will discuss the branches of biochemistry in detail, right? Picture tele wala kishabin anwar. Suppose shwe kana دا قصه ده کنه فلم دی و دا ټول یو بل سره را روان و یو بل سره به خبرې مبرې کولې و دې کې موږ کار وکړو ستا رقیب النساء نوم دی چې شاته ولې ګورې دا ستا ډېره خوښه ده ستا دی صحیح شته وایي ته کوئی یو ورځ له پاکستان وزیر اعظم جوړ شي وایي ته به څه کوې اور د پاکستان وزیر اعظم یو ورځ له نشم جوړېدی اور ته ویلي ما سره ټایم نشته مونږ سره ټایم نشته که نه ښه fresh here. Now we will study the branches of biochemistry in detail, right? We will take the branches one by one. बस क्या करना चप देखो गोरे we will take branches one by one and will study in detail these branches, not in too much detail but for understanding. The first thing is structural biochemistry. What is structural biochemistry? Now in 1944 or in 1950 and 19th century, biochemistry was discovered. Now biochemistry is a separate branch, but some things are different from others and others from others, right? So the biochemistry is now dividing, right? The first branch which is important is structural biochemistry. In structural biochemistry we study the structures of chemicals. Here we will use a word biochemicals because in biochemistry we are studying biochemicals, right? Biochemicals like protein, amino acids, right? We will take examples of glucose or amino acids, right? For example, we have biochemicals are proteins, lipids, carbohydrates, nucleic acids, right? These are the hormones, enzymes. If we take protein, right? So structurally, protein is made up of the small units of amino acid, and up to now 20 amino acids are discovered. One other amino acid is also discovered but not confirmed at 21 and 22 amino acids, but essentially 20 amino acids are discovered, and a lot of proteins, thousands of proteins are made up of these 20 amino acids, right? So structurally these proteins are made up of small units which are called amino acids. Amino acid itself is made up of chemicals, atoms, right? And the structure of a simple amino acid is, why amino acid is called amino acid? Having amine group and having carboxylic acid group, acidic group, so it is called amino acid, right? On one hand it have hydrogen ion, and here it have a variable group or alkyl group, right? So this is the structure of amino acid. So the branch of biochemistry in which we study the structures of biochemicals is called structural biochemistry. Other examples are glucose, fructose, galactose, right? DNA, RNA. In 1944, Watson and Crick confirmed that DNA is having double strand. This is the structure of DNA. So the structure of DNA is also studied in structural biochemistry, right? The second branch, immunology. Immunology, right? What is immunology? Immunology is the study of immune system, but in biochemistry antibodies are the main thing which is studied in immune system. Immunoglobulins, IgE, IgA, right? IgM. So immunology is also the branch of microbiology, right? But here we will focus on immunoglobulins. What are immunoglobulins? They are actually proteins, right? And simply we called it antibodies. Uh, IgG antibodies, IgM, IgE, IgA, right? There are so many, but these are simple. Also in immunology we are discuss the mechanisms behind antibodies. Like one example is hypersensitivity. For example, hypersensitivity and hypersensitivity, for example, if we have our blood here, this is our blood have RBCs as well as WBCs, right? These are RBCs and WBCs. There are some specific WBCs which are called basophils and mast cells, right? If someone is if some person is hypersensitive or allergic to dust or anything else, you can allergic from a human, right? But we have two cells, for example this one and this one. This is basophil and this is mast cell, right? What actually the dust doing here? For example, you are exposed to dust, You are exposed to a dust. Dust may be fallen, may be pollutant, right? So this dust is exposed to this basophil, and in response of this dust, this basophil forms IgE antibodies. IgE antibodies, for example. These IgE antibodies goes to mast cell, and mast cell have sites for this IgE antibodies. These are IgE binding sites, these red. We will discuss this in hypersensitivity for, but now this is for understanding immunology, right? These IgE antibodies binds here, right? And this mast cell having a lot of histamines. If these histamines release to blood, there are receptors which are called histamine receptor, and this histamine receptor will bind here and allergy will occur in body. This tearing, skin rashes, coughing, sneezing, right? Irritations, itching. This is the allergic reactions. These are allergic reactions. Now, this person is allergic to this dust in this condition because this is first exposure, and first exposure the person is not allergic, only make these antibodies IgE. Now if this person second time exposed to this dust, the dust will not binding here, the dust will occur here, comes here and cross bind with these IgE antibodies, right? By binding this, the histamine released in blood, right? And these histamines goes and activate these histamine receptors, and now allergic reactions starts. For example, for this we are taking cetirizine. Cetirizine is antihistamine. They are histamine receptor blockers, right? So when we give cetirizines, they block this receptor and allergic reactions finished, right? So we study these processes also in immunology, and immunology is the branch of biochemistry, right? The next branch is enzymology. Before enzymology, it is required to know about metabolic biochemistry. Digestion, etc. In metabolic biochemistry, we are studying the metabolic reactions. We are studying metabolic reaction. Metabolic reactions may be catabolic or it may be anabolic. For example, we have catabolic reactions and we have anabolic reactions. Who can tell me any examples of catabolic reaction? Anyone? Respiration. Respiration is a very big process. There are three processes involved inside respiration. Glycolysis, beta oxidation, right? Urea cycles, protein metabolism, right? So give examples of anabolic reactions. Raqibun Nisa. Photosynthesis is the anabolic reaction. Photosynthesis, inside body, this is outside body. In plants, inside body. Gluconeogenesis, cholesterol synthesis, protein synthesis. These are the anabolic reactions by which small units combined and made a large unit. Monomers combines and forms polymers. right? So these all reactions we will study in metabolic biochemistry, but these processes are regulated and there is need for regulation of these processes or speeding up these processes. So for that the scientists separate the branch which is called enzymology, and you have a very long chapter on enzymology in your course. Enzymology is the study of enzymes, study of enzyme, but study of enzyme mean that which enzymes works where, because enzymes are specific. Every reactions have their own enzyme, every step have their own enzyme, right? So which enzymes works where, right? This in enzymology we study which enzyme works where. I can give you a lot of examples, right? But one of my favorite enzyme is pyruvate dehydrogenase. Pyruvate dehydrogenase, because of pyruvate dehydrogenase we can eat more, right? Pyruvate dehydrogenase enzyme, which is composed of further three units: E1, E2, E3. We will study this in a very big detail in Krebs cycle, right? Because pyruvate dehydrogenase is responsible for entering pyruvate into Krebs cycle. Here in link reaction, this pyruvate dehydrogenase enzyme is used, right? And one thing is important here, which is called thymine, vitamin B1. Vitamin B1 play an important role in this pyruvate dehydrogenase, and this is why doctors give multivitamins for dyspepsia. If you are not if you are not feeling to take foods, if you are not getting hungry, right? The doctors give you multivitamins of B1, B2, B3, right? Because B1 have any role in pyruvate dehydrogenase. If you have B1 in sufficient amount, that pyruvate dehydrogenase will work properly and your body will able to consume more energy or more foods, so you will need to eat more food, right? So this is one example of pyruvate dehydrogenase. Other than pyruvate dehydrogenase, the oxidase is enzyme, isomerase is enzyme, reductase is enzyme, catalase is enzymes, lipase is enzyme, protease is, all are the components of enzymology. And enzymes is very important because doctors investigate these enzymes and find the diagnosis of a disease. For example, if you have raised an SGPT is an enzyme. So doctors concluded that this person is caused by HBS or HCV, right? He is caused by hepatitis. If we have raised in bilirubin, for example, if you have raised a level of SGOT, right? So these are used for diagnosis, right? The next thing is clinical biochemistry. It is also known as medical biochemistry, as you are studying medical biochemistry, right? Clinical biochemistry is the application of biochemistry knowledge, application of biochemistry knowledge in diagnosis of disease, treatment of disease, and prevention of disease, right? If you are applying the knowledge, for example, you are learning now biochemistry, Tomorrow, if you are in your own clinics or in hospitals and you are applying the learned knowledge there in hospitals for the safety of patients, this is called clinical biochemistry. Right? For example, we have a normal range of everything. A simple one is glucose. What is normal range of glucose in fasting? 70 to 110. And random blood 170. Right? So if this range is increases in patient, we concluded, we investigate or we diagnose that this patient is diabetic, right? Because he have hyperglycemia, right? If the range reduced from 70 or 110, this is called hypoglycemia. The other example, if we have a normal range of hemoglobin. What is the normal range of hemoglobin? HB 12 to 16 normally, right? And females it's from 12 to 14 and males is from 13 to 17, right? Or 14 to 16. But if the hemoglobin is decreases, we concluded that this person is caused by anemia, and anemia have a lot of types, but simply we are called that this is he is or she is caused by anemia, right? So these are the diagnoses. For according to this diagnosis, you will treat the patient. So biochemistry is used for the treatment, and you will prevent that disease in future also, right? So this is also the contribution of biochemistry, right? Clinical biochemistry. The next thing is environmental biochemistry. What is environmental biochemistry? The effect of changes outside an environment on life, on living body, is called environmental chemistry. Because if your environment is pollutant, there is a lot of pollution in your environment, it will affect you, it will affect the humans, it will affect, for example, if you pollutions occurs in water, in sea, in rivers, it will affect the life of fish. If occur in air, it will affect humans, right? If occur in land, it will affect humans as well as plants, right? So in environmental chemistry we study the effects of environmental chemicals, yeah, environmental changes on humans. Not only humans, but we are medical students, so we are saying about only human body, right? The next thing, other environmental chemistry, we have a lot of branches like like genetics. In genetics, we are studying the heredity material, DNA and RNA, right? And we call that DNA is hereditary material. It takes the characters from parents and transfer it to offspring. But this is not limited to only DNA study. It is also contribute in, and this was discovered in 1950s or 1960s, that there is a process which is called engineering genetic engineering. In genetic engineering, we can transfer a gene of our wish to body. For example, if you want green eyes, you can transfer the gene for green eyes, right? If you have some genes of cancer, and this is your genetically your family have cancer, you can remove this unwanted gene by genetic engineering, and you can synthesize vaccines and medicines by genetic engineering. So there are a lot of other branches also of biochemistry, but these 6 branches are enough for you people, right? Now we will study scope of biochemistry, right? देना करो शुरू से शब्द.
So what is the function of antibodies?
The antibodies हो हमारा टॉपिक मोरा ना वो लान दे दस इजू नोरा. हाँ बस क्वेश्चन छते ओके शब्द ना ना. Say only one scope, only one importance. Anyone? Rakibun Nisa.
So the clinical importance.
Clinical importance. You can say clinical importance, physical importance, because this is our topic, scope of biochemistry. The first contribution is in medicines. What is the scope of biochemistry in medicine? I have already discussed there. The treatment of diseases, diagnosis of diseases, and prevention of diseases. But the drug structure is similar to some of the substances, right? If we take the structure of aspirin or structure of penicillin, right? Because we have two drugs, one is called penicillin G and the second one is called penicillin V. These are natural drugs. We are taking it from Panjais. Alexander the Great. Do you know Alexander the Great? 1928 story. He accidentally discovered this penicillin. So biochemistry have contribution in medicines, right? If we discover new medicines, if we are discovering new medicines, biochemistry coined some changes in that medicines and make it efficient, and increase its efficacy and potency, right? The second scope is biochemistry in pharmaceuticals. Pharmacy, right? Pharmacy is, shortly we can say that the study of drugs, right? The formation of drugs, the dispensing of drugs, right? If you know the chemistry, the biochemistry, the biochemicals, you can make medicines or drugs like that, right? So this is the biochemistry also used in industries of for drugs are called role of biochemistry in agriculture. Is there importance of biochemistry in agriculture? What is the importance? I have told you that plants getting their foods from soils. ठीक दा? دي سكي the soil ندي خپل د سيزونه علي دا ماته already discuss کړل. Right? So if this soil is deficient in nutrients, we are giving external nutrients in the form of fertilizers, and it makes this soil nutrient rich, and this plant will get enough food from soil now, right? So this is agriculture importance of biochemistry, right? Now what are others? What is the importance of biochemistry in environmental sciences? yo pake biya samo yo pake no taso corona wala tool metric wala environmental sciences. What is the role in of biochemistry in environmental sciences? We study photosynthesis in biochemistry, plants biochemistry. You can say that plants biochemistry or microbiology, because Do you know antibiotics? Antibiotics. Antibiotics are the drugs which are used for bacteria, and they are coming from microorganism. For example, cephaloxacin, gentamicin. They are derived from Staphylococcus. Yeah, Staphylomyces bacteria, right? So these are microorganisms, and these microorganisms are living in our environment. We are taking that microorganisms and used it for our benefit, right? Other than these contribution, the effects of pollutions on life. This is the main topic in environmental biochemistry, right? If our environment is pollutant, it will affect a lot of uh, life, life in water, life on land, life in trees. It will affect. For example, if we are burning the forests, if we are burning the forests or cutting the forest, we deflect the shelter for birds, right? So this is the effect of environment on biochemistry or on our life. All these are studied in environmental sciences or environmental chemistry, and this is the scope of biochemistry. The next and very important for you people, mean for doctors, is the role of biochemistry in investigation and diagnosis, right? If you fully know the biochemistry of humans, you will diagnose the patient very easily, and you will treat the patient also very easily. So biochemistry have a role in investigation and diagnosis, right? Nor cosas